All right, let's go. This is exciting. Squidward's Draft World is finally up and running. We've got the Generations tournament underway. This is going to be a little meta analysis followed by me looking through it all the teams. So let's check it out. I gotta shrink that down a little bit. But here we go. We've got our four pools separated into red, orange, green, and I guess I'll call that blue. It was originally supposed to be purple, but it evolved. Um, so the thing I'm picking up most is that a lot of these teams are very ghost and ground weak. I think those are going to be very impactful offensive types because it's very hard to justify for ground types picking up weaker grass, bug, flying types that have a lot of weaknesses. So you'll see a lot of teams carry those Terra types rather than those types right off the rip. But even if they do have ways to resist them through Terra or become immune to them through Terra, now you forced your opponent to use your Terra defensively on getting away from your ground attacks, and you're still free to use yours however you'd like. So I think that's going to be big. And then Ghost is the other one, where a lot of the Pokemon that are good enough to get picked here are not normal types, and or are not bulky dark types, and even if you grabbed one of them either on accident or on purpose, you still now leave yourself open to baits and very easy counterplay to just one mon. So even if you picked up Ursa BM or T-Tar, which were on the more common side, um, you'll still probably have some issues there. Luckily, there are a lot of Terra normals, but same deal as before. I do think Terra normal is, a much better use than Terra grass most of the time. Like aside from doing the thing you immediately want it to do and resisting a ground or ghost attack, but still, I think ghost is going to be pretty huge here. So the hazard game you're going to see is all over the place just because it wasn't really presumably a factor when building these teams. So you'll see some teams have a pretty normal spread. Like here, one defogger, one spin. I mean, granted, you're not defogging with D Knight. Normal amount of hazards, maybe on the light side. But some teams, oh yeah, here's a great spread. Some teams though, they have, I don't know if I could find one real easily, but yeah, they have like no hazards and then like eight defoggers, and then some teams have like nine rockers and not a lot of removal. I don't know if I could find. I'm just clicking around randomly, but and some teams have like no hazards or removal at all. Um, yeah, I mean here you've only got one removal option. Like Zapdos is either bringing defog or you have hazards up. So I don't think it was a big factor when building teams, but I think it's going to be a really big factor matchup to matchup, week to week. So it's going to create some really interesting dynamics in the matchups, I think, just because of how all over the place the hazard scene is here. So Terra type wise, there were 90 Pokemon that can Terra because no captains, no megas. And of those 90, there were 12 waters and 12 steels, which totally checks out. Pretty widely considered to be the best defensive types alongside fairy. There were only 8 fairy terras, but which means that it's actually fourth place because it's behind grass. There are 10 grass terras to help resist ground. Once again, speaking to how big ground is, and that is also why normal and flying also have 8 each, joining fairy in that tie for fourth place. Ice and poison both have 6. Um, one very offensive with ice, poison being normally defensive to escape fighting fairy weakness. Like here on this Umbreon, great example and great Terra type actually for that thing. Um, Fire and Ghost each had 4. Fire, whatever. Fire Rillaboom's pretty sweet. Ghost, I think there are like 3 Ghost T-Tars. Oh no, one of them's a Scarm. 2 Ghost T-Tars, a Ghost Scarm, and then there's an offensive one actually, which stuck out to me, is this Ghost Blacephalon. which I think is going to be really, really nice. Normally the fire moves are a little bit stronger, but now with the Terra Ghost, you're free to spam either Scarf or Specs, Shadow Ball, Terra Ghosted into a lot of these teams that really don't appreciate Ghost type attacks. Um, we had a couple of them were almost unique, but didn't end up getting there. There were two dragon types, I think in Alomomola and one of the Skarms somewhere. There are two dark types. I don't remember what they were off the rip. Um, let's see. Oh, DOD and probably another psychic type. Oh, Rachi. Yeah. So good move there. And then there were two fighting types, I believe, Infernape and Gengar. Infernape, yeah. Strong ass close combat. That's going to be scary. Gengar fighting is tied for maybe my favorite Terra type in the whole dang thing here. I think that's pretty huge. I'll get into it when I go over teams, but keep that one in mind. And then there were six Terra type. We didn't miss any Terra type out of the 19, including Stellar, um, because of these six guys who were the only ones to Terra into their types. So three of them actually go to the same person. You've got Milotic with Terra Stellar Ditto, Terra Rock Tangrowth, and Terra Ground Frostmoth. Um, I won't say what I think of them off the road. I think they're all really cool. But yeah, I'll talk about it more when I get into the team speak. But three unique Terra types for this guy. Sylve's got Terra Psychic Alakazam Wallbreaker build. I've got Terra Bug instead of Terra Grass on Heatran. Reasoning I already have two Grass Terras and I just want to switch it up. Maybe beta Flying type attack or something. I don't know. I guess Grass does that too. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Woof. Maybe should change that. And then this one's this one's crazy to me. We've only got one electric Terra, despite it being a very common Terra type in general, I feel, and that is Cheese's electric Regice, which is also the only Regice, by the way. So double unique there. Um, and there are a lot of unique monsters across this whole thing. Most teams have three or four. There were a couple with five. Cheeses is one of them. I believe Rogo. Where's he? Rogo's got five as well. But the winner in terms of most unique team is Serrated Razor with six unique mons. The only repeats being, let's see, DOD, Prim, and Fluttermane. Nothing there even reaching the top tier of usage, and I think there are only two prims, so I'm yeah, not a lot you can apply to this guy's team from prep against others. I guess there are technically five Venusaurs because there are four Mega Venusaurs, but this is the only one that's gonna be running like Chlorophyll, Life Orb, or something. You see a bit of a sun. I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here. I'm trying to just get through the meta stuff here, and but um, in terms of not unique, the top usage is a few. There were like I don't know, maybe eight Pokemon that are used in a quarter of the teams. Nothing hit five teams, but there was a bunch of stuff at four teams. In Gen 1, there were 10 different Mons chosen, Dragonite being one of the big ones. Four Dragonites. Gen 2 is the least diverse gen, aside from one we'll get into, but there were nine unique mons in Gen 2. There were four Raikus. Gen 3 didn't have anything in the top echelon of usage here, but there were 10 as well, so pretty diverse. 10 is pretty much the baseline. Gen 4 had 10 as well, with Heatran taking the cake. Three Terra grasses and a Terra bug, so all tearing to resist. Oh, there might be a Terra flying. Yep, right next to me. Um, Gen 5 is technically the least diverse gen, but the usage was really decentralized aside from the fact that it had both Genesect and Lando T. So half of its usage immediately went to two uh, Mons right off the rip. that took like half the play away from the rest of the mons. So the fact that there are only two repeats across the rest of them means I think Gen 5 is pretty diverse, aside from two of the best captains in the whole scene. Gen 6, most common is Mega Venusaur, which I did not see coming at all, but yeah, great mon. Good call. Great pickup, everybody. I did not see that one, but it's there. Gen 6 and 7 each had 10. Gen 7 boasting Magearna as in the top tier. Magearna, I'm not sure on the pronunciation of that. And then Gen 8 and 9, as expected, as the power creep happened even more in the later gens, uh, plenty of things became more viable. So Gen 8 and 9, nothing hit that top tier of usage. Nothing is used on more than three teams. In fact, Fluttermane is the only thing to be used on three teams. Everything else in Gen 8 and 9 is only used on one or two teams. Each of them have 12 different guys, so only four repeats across both those gens, which is I thought was really cool. And it means like there's only one Great Tusk, only one Iron Val. Um, Very cool stuff. So I guess let's get into the specific teams here, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. Oh, that didn't work. Hell yeah. All right. So just running through this thing alphabetically. First, we've got Aphis. Um, yeah, I like this team. Very ground weak though, and the Zapdos being your only ground resist and then wanting to tear it out of it into that fairy is pretty rough. But you've got a couple other Terra targets that are a little better, like T-Tar, and I think Steel Milotic's pretty cool. But yeah, very scared of ground here. Other than that, though, great stat line. Um, the Zapdos having a lot of pressure on it as the only ground resist and your only defogger, but let's see, great pivot. I think that Terra fighting Annihilate or Jesus Infernape is might be looked down upon a little bit. Like no one else chose Infernape. I've highlighted unique Pokemon here, but I think this thing's going to do insane work and is going to be a real problem with those Terra fighting like probably Life Orb or Choice Band or maybe Scarf close combats launching into shit. Horrifying. So overall though, really cool build. Um, I think Zeraor is a great pick, and it gives your speed tiers, despite having some gaps in like this range. It means that no matter how few speed EVs you put in Zera, things are either going to have to scarf or just admit they're going to get beaten by like two of your guys here. So very cool. We've got Boonty here, which he's got three unique mons, including one of the most absurd unique mons in the whole thing, which is only one Iron Valiant. That is very surprising to me. This is one of those teams that's incredibly ghost weak. Only Pori Z is resisting there, but you do have Terra Dark DoD, which is a phenomenal answer. I think the clear DoD Terra type, aside from maybe Steel or Fairy, very good. And I'm gonna be a huge DoD meat writer here because I love teleport. I'm such a teleport head. So this thing's sweet. I love the budget Regieleki Terra. Um, we've got we've got one of the more common Lando Ts here. I'm not big on Terra Normal Porygon Z. I feel like if you're just going for pure wall break, like you've got if you Terra into something else, you've got that adaptability boost on a completely new type now, while still being able to launch like really powerful like tri attacks. I think switching Poryz's Terra up is a good option to like fire or ground to get around uh, normal resists in steel, but just me. Hopefully it works. I think there's another Pori Z2 and it is also Terra Normal, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing what the big draw of Terra Normal Porygon Z is, but I'm not big on it. I don't know, still cool though. Toxapex, grass, get away from ground, hell yeah. Nothing here really demands Terra. I'd say DoD a little bit more than other stuff just because of how prevalent I'm predicting Ghost and maybe to a lesser extent Dark attacks to be, and how weak this team is to them. Like Iron Valiant is not a real dark resist. You're not switching that into knockoff really ever. I don't know if knockoff knocks off booster energy before it's applied, but even then, it kind of sucks to put your like setup guy in when on someone else's terms. So yeah, I don't know. Great team though, very threatening. No stats really lacking here. I don't think really solid speed tiers except for this range, but I think I think speed tiers aren't going to be too big a factor here. I think the power level is high enough that you can just kind of not give Valiant all the speed EVs or something, and outspeed this stuff. It's fine. Very cool. Got Celestial. Um, Only Metagross, only Feeny, only Urshifu single, things that you would expect to have more than one pick. So very, very high power level on this team. You can see several stats averaging above 100 or right about. Nothing below 70. This is a pretty fast team, I would say, overall. I like I like this. Um, let's see. Pretty ground weak at a glance, except this is such a lie. You've got both Lando T and D Knight up in the air. Lando T isn't even rock weak. They don't really share weaknesses aside from ice. So in theory, this is like hella Mammo weak, but there's not a single Mammo swine here. So who really gives a shit? And you've got Raikou Terraflying as well, which is the one that is tied for tied with fighting uh Terra fighting Gengar. Goddamn. It took me a sec to get that one out. Terra fighting Gengar for my favorite Terra type on anything. Um, I love flying here because not only is it defensive to help you get away from your only weakness in ground, but it also gives you a super effective Terra Blast into the only thing that's resisting both T-Bolt and Scald. So I, I I'm such a huge fan of this. Both offensive and defensive, perfectly what you need. That's really cool. Yeah, I guess you could have accomplished the same thing in Bug, but who's trying to tear into Bug type? That'd be a shitty idea. Who would do that? Um, I don't know about Terra Fairy Feeny. I feel like generally you want to switch up what you're resistant to a little bit more for something tearing this defensive. Maybe you're secretly going for like a Scarf Moonblast build and you're trying to up your power, in which case this makes sense. But I guess having that option is cool. So very interesting. I'm excited to see if that ever comes. Um, yeah, I think this is a great team. I wonder if this is going to run E-Speed. Hard to say. We got Cheese here, uh, Mod of the Year, presumably, uh, GOAT status. What a guy. Five unique mons. Unsurprisingly, the only Murkrow. I guess the thought maybe being you already know generally what six or seven you're probably going to bring. So now at least instead of picking, I don't know, Gen 2 is one of the weaker power level ones. Like Gen 2 and 3, I think, were the ones where people struggled in the builder the most. So getting some prankster support there is not like a terrible trade-off. You're not missing out on like Gen 9 power level stuff for Murkrow. You're missing out on Gen 2 power level stuff, and nobody got anything like that insane out of Gen 2. So that's cool. I think Regice Terra is rad. I love Regice Terra. It can wall so many things when you get away from its typing, which is exactly what you got going on here. I'm still flabbergasted that this is the only electric Terra. Um, Hell yeah, run it. Let's see. Water Superior could be a problem. Bombi with the webs is going to be huge because now Megalop and Spectrier are not worried about scarfs. If you magic bounce it back, or I don't know, court change, I don't think either of those are runnable on anything that was picked. But Superior would get a speed boost, so even worst case scenario, I guess it's not bad for you. With webs in, Palafin starts outspeeding a lot of shit. Um, Very cool team. I think it's gonna be really threatening. Terrifier Dragonite finally breaks the myth of Fire Punch being fire coverage. Like you actually have some power behind that now, and you can get past steel types a little bit more easily, and it gets away from that ice weakness. So I think this is a cool type. I'm not sure it would have been the one I would have gone to off the rip, but I'm glad it's not the one I would have gone to off the rip. I think that it could be better in a lot of situations. So very cool. All right, next we got growth. So here it is, the Terrifighting Gengar, and this might be my favorite pickup in the whole thing. Um, my reasoning being, this is out of Gen 1, so really you're either choosing Zapdos or like some schmuck, probably, or Dragonite. Dragonite's really good, but Gengar is going to be so big here with how good ghost types are into most of the teams we're going to see. Like, oh, this team's ghost type weak is going to be such a talking point that's so free for me when I need to catch my breath. And then fighting gets around the normal types, the dark types, and then for Gengar specifically, the steel types that normally like to switch into like Sludge Wave and crap. I think this is so big for Gengar, and I hope Gengar just puts the hurt on this entire league for the rest of us not respecting it. This thing is going to be so nuts. I love this. Is this my week one match? Fuck, this is my week one match. Um, don't bring this. Don't bring Gengar. We've got the Terra Dragon Scarm. That's pretty sweet. Only Swampert. I'm surprised because Swampert is considered really, really solid in NatDex drafts, even in Gen 9. And people were kind of struggling with Gen 3 in general, I heard. So the fact that this is the only Swampert is pretty nuts. This team's got actually great hazards and removal in general. Pretty solid pivot too. Um, So I suspect this to be one of the stronger teams, despite the fact that the stat line off the rip doesn't look as insane as a lot of others. I think this is just going to play a lot better. With great defensive teras on Scarm and Gliscor and Swampert, like this core right here, you got out of the early gens with my favorite pick of the whole thing, plus a great defensive core, and now you just get to spend the rest of your time. You didn't even use the captain yet, did you? You get to spend the rest of your time in picking up late gen captains and broken shit like Water Superior and um, kill everybody Garm. So I, oh man, this is a brilliant draft. I really like this one. Maybe a little bit slow. I don't know. Trying to find a flaw. I guess Ghost Week. Um, I like the rest of it too much to really care. Hell yeah. This is JagD's team. JagD Panther, full name. Um, Once again, one of those stat lines that looks kind of middling, but I think it has enough stuff here that gets stuff done, and a lot of it is Ditto bringing the crowd down, right? Like if I delete Ditto, yeah, those shoot up. So Ditto is, I think, the thing that I'm most mad I forgot because you can absolutely build a team with fewer sweepers and just rely on Ditto to, I don't know, counter sweep for you. Very, very sweet. Great pickup for everyone who did Ditto. I think there are three Dittos out there, two Terra Fairies, which makes a lot of sense. Terra Fairy is just one of the best offensive and defensive types. And then you've got one of the Terra Stellars, which is, I think, a little bit better, but Terra Fairy's rad too. Terra Ice Raikou, very cool. Maybe a little bit more of an offensive type, but you don't really need that coverage versus flying because you already have T-Bolt, so I like flying a little bit more, but Ice still great. DOD, hell yeah. Empoleon and Normal Lander is not Therian. Very sweet. I think Pheromosa is just one of my favorite captains to play with. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I love hitting a banded U-turn, and the physical and special ice coverage is really nice, especially against, 2 million Lando Ts. And then one of two Grimmsnarls, one of two Gouging Fires, a little bit more on the niche side. Um, Very neat though. I think I think having these screens for maybe like an agility Lando sweep or a gouging fire setup is going to be really threatening. And then you've got a great defensive backbone and Empoleon with a you could actually bring Terra Blast on this thing and do damage, which I think is neat. DOD to teleport, Grim Snarl, great pivot. Um, Removal is there if need be. I think this is a great team. I don't think any of these are bad teams. I just like ending it off that way. We got Milotic though, unique Terra aficionado. Um, Terra Rock Tangrowth is awesome. Get away from that fire problem. Get away from the poison problem. Get away from the flying problem. Rock being considered a defensive Terra is nuts, except Tangrowth struggles with all those things immensely, and now you're playing mind games against so many different attacks. And it's regen too, so even if you get it wrong, like you just heal that shit off immediately. And Tangrowth's so awesome. I love guys with big arms, so Tangrowth and Electros are in my top 10 Mon designs ever. And plus, this thing's green, so this is checking all my boxes. Frostmoth, I guess you're getting away from rock there. You get a great Terra Blast for steel types, also phenomenal. Terra Stellar Ditto, I already just hit. I think it's a little bit better than Fairy. I think, oh man, this is just such a good team. Hitmontop, being here is so cool. He's kind of carrying my ass in a Gen 3 league right now to a humongous 2-7 finish. I do not play Gen 3. I mean, so much shit, but Hitmontop is a big reason why I got my 2 wins. So thank you, Hitmontop. He's going to be a great spinner here, and the Intimidate support is going to be huge. Technician Mach Punch, I think is does he get Mach Punch or maybe this is Steel Bullet Punch? I don't know. Um, Whatever the priority is with Technician here, it's going to be big. With a lot of these fast threats roaming around. Let's see what's the rest of this team looking like. Um, Yeah, it's solid. It says there are a few weaknesses here. I wouldn't believe them, except, I mean, even the psychic one, you've got one of your psychic weaks tearing to a resist, and you've got Rachi never losing it. And when it comes to psychic resist, Rachi's one of the best in the game. So I think this is great. I think it's gonna be really tough to break between these 5+ intimidate support. And then you've got Ditto, Frostmoth, Gouging Fire, whatever you want to set up with. And it's not like these guys aren't doing damage, and this thing's fucking annoying. So, and this is going to be a tough one as well. Here we've got Nair. Let's see. 4 unique guys here. Tentacruel, I think, is a really cool option. I love seeing the unique ones from the first like 3, 4 gens where the power level's a little bit weaker and see what they did with them. Flygon, for example, now only being weak to Psychic once it tears is cool. Here is another Terra. I didn't know we had 2 Terra Flying Raikus. Hell yeah. I already talked about this thing at length. This is a great pick. Very awesome early gen picks, actually. Yuxi is so hard to break as a Psychic type, and now it's weak to what? Just Fire and Fighting because of Levitate. Completely different weakness set to when it's Psychic. You get out of some really sticky situations there and let it keep spouting off screens, rocks, pivot, para. That's frustrating. And now you come into late gens with all your captain picks still alive. We've got Agirna, Genesect, and Fluttermane. Oof, all doing a lot of damage. Agirna shoring up some weaknesses for the team, and Goltris being the only ghost resist, tearing out of it. So yeah, Ghost Week. Um, you know, as I said, that's not like a problem unique to this team, just something to look out for. Overall, though, it's got enough bulk that I think you can get around that, especially with Mega Venu and Meguna sharing no weaknesses. I think this is great. So much pivot potential here. Tentacruel is a great spinner. It does mean you're probably going to bring him a little bit more than you might want to with compared to the power level of some of the other mons on the team. But definitely not a bad pick. Definitely not a bad team. Definitely a good team. We've got Patty. Uh, Hell yeah, so happy Patty's here. Met in another server. And now he's here. That's the backstory. Umbreon, Tear Poison, phenomenal pick. Dark to Terra Poison is so huge, you're going to see it on at least one Grimmsnarl. Um, and I think it's great there too. Wish support for these guys is going to be so big. Bring Dragonite back to multi-scale. Just make sure a lot of these big bulkers never go down, especially with Mega Diancie with, huge defense stats and no HP. You could boost this thing up to full from like 30 or 40. Then this is the only Tusk and cloaking into anything's so big just with that chilly reception. Or am I messing up? Is it Glowbro? I'm pretty sure it's cloaking. It's cloaking. Sorry, I just got in my head for a sec. Terra Ghost Blacephalon I already mentioned, I think is going to be doing insane amounts of damage here. And if your opponent is one of the, I don't know, three teams that's good into ghost types, you've still got strong ass fire moves. This thing is going to be a menace for sure. For EZ, I talked about not big on the Terra Normal, but I think it's a great pick. I hope at least one of you runs teleport on it some week. I love catching people off guard with that shit. Um, I guess since I'm putting it on blast, probably not. But real talk, who's listening to this? Um, let's see. Theoretically, Rock weak, but you have Great Tusk, so not really. I guess if they have a special move, sure, but whatever. You've got enough bulk elsewhere. That's fine. You've got Milotic. You're doing okay. Ground, you don't really want to switch a Dragonite off your own terms here. So I would look out for this, but you do have two Terraflines. I guess one of them's Dragonite. You have Terragrass Glow King, but it would feel like kind of a waste to use it there when you could have Terraflying Dragonite kill everything and Terra Ghost Blacephalon kill everything. So I don't know, finding ways to navigate Edgequake is going to be interesting for this one, but I don't think it's going to have too many. I think it has the tools to do it. I just hope that it goes well. No repeat types. Very cool. I don't know if I haven't been looking at that yet, but and that's not to say teams with repeat types are either good or bad um, in a vacuum, right? It's very team dependent, but just very cool. Random Poplio, my guy. I used to call him my rival, and then he beat me like a million times in a row. So, um, you know, perhaps a sensei figure of sorts, or a distant rival waiting for me to get better. Um, either way, though, happy's here. Terrifier Rillaboom's pretty sweet. Gives him coverage into a lot of things that would otherwise be Rillaboom switch-ins. It could also be defensive to get away from like an ice problem and to not get burnt. So love this. Ursaluna BM is just going to be a problem regardless of what Terra type you give it, and you gave it a good one. So ouch. Heatran's great. Raiku's great. D-Knight's great. Yeah, these are all just phenomenal mons, and then you also have added in Shinchino for I don't know, fun. It's got tidy up, I guess. And, with Terra Normal, that tail slap's going to be doing a shit ton of damage. So I think this is a really cool one. Definitely slept on. I'm calling it slept on, and I'm still sleeping on it, which is just how uh, or unexpected it's going to be when it comes in and wins a 9 battles back to back here. This thing's taking it all the way. Let's see. Theoretically, Dragon Week. Um, I guess. Not really. You've got Fairy, Ursa, BM, and you don't even mind using your Terra for that because Fairy's just a great type in general. Gives it more coverage. I think that's fine. Oh, Dark's a much bigger problem. Pheromosa is not a switch in. Oh, once again, you've got Terra Fairy Blood Moon. So I'm guessing that Fairy Blood Moon's probably coming a lot. It shores up two of the bigger weaknesses here. I guess you've got ice problems too, but Heatran's there. Um, look out for water coverage. You got fairy problems too. Heatran's there. Look out for water coverage. Um, so a lot of the defensive threats or a lot of the defensive pressure is going to be put on Heatran and probably tearing this guy. I don't think you mind that though. You've got enough other tools that can just come in and immediately win the game. I don't think you mind, right? Like you've got the E speed. You've got the God. There's so many threats. Megalati. This thing's just starting you off on an offensive note. Rock screens die. Very cool. Let's see. Got Rogo. Rogo the Frog. One of the most unique teams. I looked at this one a little bit last night, and you want to use your Terra on Moltres pretty much all the time immediately, right? You're probably not bringing Floatzel. You're probably not bringing Eldegoss. Um, so most of what he's bringing most of the time, and it does mean probably going to be Ice Week, definitely Rock Week. Bang, Terra Moltres, both those problems start to go away. No ghost resist even with those other two added back. So you're just going to be having to run enough natural bulk on things that you have a ghost switch in for whatever week it is. I don't know, maybe that's going to be in a random AV somewhere. Maybe Lottie weakness policy could be cool. I think there are ways to get around it, but definitely some things that you have to look out for in prep every week. The one thing you don't have to look out for is hazards, because this is the team with a million defoggers, and once I add Elder back in, you've got a spin or two. So I think this team is definitely really threatening. Um, with Lando, Beedrill, Setup Lati, Baxcalibur sitting there with possible snow support and possible fail support even, which makes the team a little scarier, which would also help with weakness policy set here, which would be sick. Um, but yeah, just things to keep in mind there. Uh, I mean, once Moltres Terrace though, it's gonna be such a good mon. So very cool. So this is my team. I didn't know I'd be playing in this for I wasn't planning on playing in this, but I was putting teams together on Sunday, and I saw we had 15 instead of 16. I thought we had 16, so I hopped in. I don't think my team is that good. This is one of those very ghost weak teams, right? Because my only resist is T-Tar, which if they have any fighting move is bad, and I can Terra out of that resist, so not great. I'm gonna have to be running enough natural bulk on like Megastois, Heatran to as resist it. Otherwise, I've got no recovery here. But I do think offensively there are at least things where even if they demand prep, right? So even if you can get around them, at least they demand prep. So my team's good for that. I'm the only Gyarados, which you might be wondering why not Terraflying D Knight. I wanted Intimidate, and I was already pretty Ice Weak. So Gyarados, I guess, becomes Ice Weak once I Terra it, but not until then. So that's nice. I could run AV if I want to, and just switch into that stuff. I've got a bit of a Sand Team double sweeper, Excadrill Dracovish, gonna be fun. Ogre Pond getting that speed boost, Sword Stain's gonna be fun. I am These two were actually afterthoughts. I did not use my captains wisely. They're just kind of shoring up some type weaknesses I had. So yeah, maybe not effective use of captains there, but and speed tiers are kind of dog. I don't think this is a great team, but I think I'll at least have fun for a few weeks and then probably not make the bracket. We've got Serrated here. Most unique team by far, which is crazy because all these mons are really, really good. It's not like we're throwing in some really niche picks to get the most unique status. It's just no one else built a Sun team, and then somehow no one else chose Guillotine or Crook. Let's see. Yeah, Yard plus Venusaur and Entei is going to be so fun to watch, and now you also get that photosynthesis boost on Fluttermane. Very cool. I just saw the synergy with Fluttermane actually because I'm so used to this being like old school Sun, I didn't even realize it also doubled as new school. So that's huge. These eruptions are going to be disgustingly powerful even without Sun, thanks to Terra Fire or Sacred Fire spam. Venu's going to be doing a lot. I normally prefer like Terra Grounder Fire to get through Steel types better, but and like out of the sun, right? So you're not relying on weather ball boost or anything, but Terra Poison just for the pure sludge wave damage, probably good. Great defensively, so I see the reasoning there. Terra Crook's cool. I don't really know off. I can't really think of what it's. I guess Terra Water, or sorry, just water attacks is what it's dodging with Terra Grass. Maybe it's more of an offensive idea to go into water types. Is that? I guess you don't really have anything for water aside from Venu, so I don't get this one, but I'm excited to see what it does, and I'll probably get it once it does a lot of damage. Huge speed gap here, but it's fine. You're probably not running a lot of speed EVs on this, so it's effectively a little bit lower. Let's see. Ghost problems for sure. Crook isn't a real resist. It's not really bulky enough to pull that off. Maybe you could AV. No flying resist. Do you have anything? I guess Prim Steel is your new flying resist. Forcing Yard to come in to ground attacks on things that have rock coverage is scary. So yeah, some type weaknesses to look out for sure. But I do think this is bulky enough to just get around it, like with DOD, with Prim, with Zam. Uh, Very scary. Not a lot of pivot, but you have enough bulk to get around that too. Uh, Giratina could run defog. You know, that's bad. I guess you could put defog on that. I wouldn't, but yeah, very nice. I hear Sylve. Alakazam Wallbreaker build is really neat, and I think a really cool idea for what to do with your, lower power level Gen 1 pick. Got one of the T-Tars and my Excadrill partner in crime. So, going to be two Excadrills running around. I gave mine a more defensive Grass Terra, which I think is a misplay. I do think Ice is a lot better here. Um, Luckily, there is X Scissor coverage for me, so it's not all over, but Ice is a lot better, yeah. Now he gets the stab on it. Phenomenal captains in these three. All definitely on the higher power level of captains, right? I think a lot of teams, mine included, was going for captains that fit good non-captains. I think getting the best captains possible and then picking a slew of other good Pokemon to go with them is the better move because now this team I feel like has a much higher power level. If I delete Swellow, you're going to see this stat line swell a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Very offensive, but not without bulk, especially in Grim doing screen support and crap. Ogerpon Wellspring can be really bulky, especially once it Terras. Got that water absorb, right? Like, this is a fake weakness for sure. Yeah, not really weak to anything that this says it is. This is a lie. Um, God damn, this is a good team. This is a really good team. Nice work, man. Oh no, and he's in my pool. This is bad. I think this is if I had to pick a team that I was most scared of, it would be this one. He knows Ubers very well. He runs a league for it, and these three are. This is probably the best captain selection out of any team, and then the backup is no slouch either, right? Prim and the only Tinglu with the Terra Poison to get out of fighting Fairy Weakness. Yuck. That's disgusting. And then you've got Fish here, which you have to prep for. Rachi's bulky, right? So huge bulk core in these fellas, plus the Terra Zapdos, which is presumably maybe a little offensive, right? Ground types don't want to switch in as much. Maybe free volts. Maybe you actually do kill ground type. Very cool. I don't really know what Crobat's doing here. Maybe you just had to shore up some stuff and you had the Gen 2 pick left and like Gen 2's power level is low enough that by picking Crobat, there's very little opportunity cost. So if it's what you needed to make the team work, it's what you needed. In theory, only one ghost resist, bulky enough that that's a lie. Once Crobat's out, I wonder how this stat line looks. 587, 581. Yeah. Ugh, boy, this is tough. I hate having to play against this. Fuck, dude. Great team. And finally, You got VN, one of those last but not least situations. Very cool. At a glance, you might think, oh yeah, this is stall. But what I think is really cool is that aside from like these two, everything else can be offensive. Like I've 6-0'd a team with agility, sword stance, glide score, and even without going that far, you could still launch huge earthquakes, especially in this meta, this ground week meta that I'm talking about. Great ghost attacker here. A lot of free hazards here. I think Glim's going to be really good, especially if you get one a really lucky matchup where the other guy doesn't have defoggers or things that want to be defoggers. Glim Glim could sit on a team, honestly. In this tournament, Glim could sit on a team. Scissor's great, especially with that Terra Water. We've seen it a couple times already. Ditto's really cool, right? So even though this is theoretically stall-ish, stall-like, right? You could run a completely offensive build, and you can also still be running bulk on most of these guys instead and have Ditto there just in case someone tries to start, setting up to get through you. Um, you might look at the stat line and be like, wow, so much fewer stats, but it is a lie. Um, you're not breaking this team, at least not without um, driving yourself insane. Uh, and then, yeah, I guess you can launch ghost attacks for free. So that is the one downside. That is the one way to break it. But stat lines are high enough that you could probably just shrug it off. So very awesome. I think we've got 16 really cool teams here. Hyped to see what goes down. Maybe I'll do like a pickups thing. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, get hyped. Let's go. Squidward's Draft World out. Hell yeah.